Hello, my name is Braden Clark, and our group is doing a video response on the Hans Rosling TED Talk over HIV. In Hans Rosling TED Talk, he talks about the um, rates at which HIV is increasing in different countries, and he showed a different displays and graphs, and they were very interesting to see the rates in some countries on how they were progressing and how some were degressing over time as well.
For me, what was really startling was at the beginning, Zimbabwe was the first country that started going up, and then as the years went on, it just started to skyrocket even higher than all the other countries, and it was kind of scary for me to see that a country like that got infected so quickly. But also when Hans was talking about all the different reasons for the different countries and different continents, it made a lot more sense why some of the countries skyrocketed so fast and why some of them started to pull back and just why some countries were better at preventing HIV than other countries.
Yeah, along with that, he was talking about how um, showing the relationship between the poor countries and the higher HIV rates, and that was mostly because those poor countries they couldn't afford to get treated for HIV and AIDS, and that's why he was talking about the most important thing is to really focus on prevention. Like, if you can't afford the treatment, then don't concoct the disease in the first place. I mean, I know a lot of the times it's probably something you can't control, but considering that the majority of HIV is contracted from unprotected sex, that's something that can be prevented. And I think that's something that should be encouraged and more strongly enforced in countries that can't afford the treatments. And in countries that can even, just don't encourage HIV.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because a lot of countries, as he was mentioning, don't have the money to afford the treatment, but they do have the means to control getting the disease in the first place. And one thing he talked about in his video was that the majority of people get the disease because they have multiple partners a month that they are having sexual relationships with. And that is what is increasing the risk of them getting this disease. And so that's something I completely agree with, that they can control, even though they don't have the money and the means to receive treatment and maybe prevent it after they have it. They can start that prevention right from the beginning and not have sexual relationships with the amount of people that they're having a month or at all necessarily. So I really liked that. Another thing he talked about was HIV is different in Africa, which I thought was kind of an interesting term. And he talked about how wealth really, really does affect that, just because richer and older men were tending to have multiple and more younger partners, and that was causing HIV to spread around. And then also that they were not feeling the need to use condoms while they were having sexual relationships, and so that was increasing the risk of, attracting the disease.
So I agree with you guys. HIV is a disease, as we all know, and if you don't have money or prevention that can cure if you have it, make sure that you abstain from it and have safe sex if you want to do it. And but if you can wait for your wife, for your husband or your wife, it will be better for you to abstain from all those things. And we should go out and teach those people that don't know much about HIV, because if they can have money and education on how they can prevent themselves from having this disease, they can be safe and able to teach others. So, and it will help us as a community and even in the world.
One of the things I thought was interesting was the correlation between countries who were effectively preventing it and the countries who are not preventing it, who were able to treat it, and the countries who were not being able to treat it. The countries that didn't have the means to treat it, many of the people who contracted the disease died. And in some countries this led to a decrease, and so it kind of slanted the numbers in how they were doing with prevention and treatment of HIV. But the countries that were able to do a good job of treating the disease, the percentage of people with HIV stayed relatively the same with a slight decrease, and this was because they were treating the people who contracted it so they wouldn't pass away. And so overall, our conclusion to this video is that those countries, as they help their citizens and the people in those countries abstain from having multiple sexual partners and at least promoting safe sex, we will see a decrease in HIV.
And also people that are educated, if they know that the disease can, or that sexual relationships can cause diseases. If people are more educated in that, then they will tend not to have those sexual relationships with multiple people.
Good.